Welcome. Happy Juneteenth. We're excited you're here to join us. Yeah. So the Jedi Coalition, we're the ones who are hosting the Juneteenth event that you're here today. So thank you for RSVPing. You have some interest, some level of excitement about today. I do want you to experience it like a museum. If you've ever been to a museum, there's an aspect of their exhibits. At those exhibits, you're sort of perusing, you're learning, you're engaging, you're learning something new. So I hope in the panels that you see before you, they give you that aspect about Juneteenth, something you never learned before, something you don't know about before. Make your mind a little bit more curious and make you feel more engaged. So we're excited to have our lovely panel, but I do want to talk a little bit about Jedi. What is our mission and what's the coalition? So Jedi, I will say this guy over here loves lightsabers, so it just made it very fitting that we go with the word Jedi. Jedi is an acronym for justice, equality, diversity, and inclusion. Current health systems seeks to create an inclusive, equitable, culturally competent, and supportive environment where employees feel enriched and a strong sense of belonging. The coalition is an internal employee-focused work group that maintains an active role in identifying, understanding, and communicating relevant information about issues pertaining to diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace. So, let's give a round of applause for everyone who put in the background work. You don't know them, you don't see them, but they helped to make this happen. Now, we'll give a little bit of the bios. We have our lovely panel. I'll start with Dr. Bloomberg over at the end. In March of 2024, Dr. Stephen Bloomberg was selected to serve as the 7th chancellor in the history of Kern Community College District, which serves students across 24,800 square miles of the southern San Joaquin Valley. As a former student whose life was transformed by his time at Kern CCD, Dr. Bloomberg's background and philosophy align with the district's goals of retaining students, increasing enrollments, and preparing the southern San Joaquin Valley workforce for new careers in emerging technologies. Dr. Bloomberg has a PhD in higher education administration from the American College of Education, as well as a master's degree in educational technology from West Texas A&M. Let's give him a round of applause. Seated next to him is Michael Bowers. Who doesn't know him, right? He is a seasoned public affairs executive and civic leader with over 15 years of experience in political strategy, healthcare advocacy, and community development. Bowers consistently challenges traditional models in favor of bold and innovative solutions. At Centric Health and Psychiatric Wellness Center, he has driven the adoption of new digital platforms and community-facing tools that have enhanced service delivery and outreach effectiveness. He encourages innovation amongst his peers and staff, fostering a culture that prioritizes creativity, responsiveness, and cutting-edge practices. Let's give him a round of applause. Next to him is T. Daniels. Yeah.
You forgot my alma mater, Texas Southern University.
Oh, I'm out of Texas Southern University. He wants to put that in there because I'm from Texas as well. So we appreciate you representing the Texas clan. All right. Taking me off script, Michael. So next is T. Daniels, known as Mama T. She is a founding member of the original Black Doula Coalition. She is Bakersfield's mothering voice to many in the community. T engages as a substitute teacher throughout Bakersfield, so one of your kiddos may have actually seen her in a classroom or two. She serves as an education mentor at Garden Pathways, which is a nonprofit organization founded in 1997 by local individuals seeking to translate their faith into effective community building. and she is an active member of St. Zion Missionary Baptist Church. It is the oldest Baptist church in Kern County, existing for over 130 years. Give a round of applause for Mom T. Dillings. We move over to Dr. Shaylyn Marks. She is an author of Diversifying the Educator Pipeline, Supporting Black Educators through Recruitment, Preparation, and Retention. With culturally responsive and sustaining pedagogies at the core of her work, her research interests include evolving educator preparation practices, using literature as a means to support and enact social justice, and advocating for equitable systems of practice and structures within educational spaces. So here are all of our panels. We appreciate them for being here at KHS. None other is Treco Matthews, who's our Chief Health Equity Officer, who will now be our moderator. I turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. First of all, can we give it up again for the Jedi Coalition? Amazing work. Usually I walk around when I present, but Alex told me that that's going to break the speaker. So I'm going to try to sit here, say, help him, Lord. But I want to give a couple of shout outs to some other folks here in the room who are special guests, starting with none other than the most beautiful woman, I think, in every room, my wife right here, Dr. Dr. Jessica Grimes. She leads the State Department, but she's here in town today, and so honored to have her. But also Walter Villa, who's a friend of mine. If you have seen the Juneteenth, video that the city of Bakersfield just launched yesterday or a couple of days ago, he's the one who produced it. So let's give him a round of applause. And we may have another couple of guests. I don't see where they are. Oh, there she is, Denny. Just raise her hand. Let's give her a round of applause as well. And my apologies if I missed anyone. Also, I don't know if we were supposed to announce anything about food, but this is during the lunch hour. So are we doing food yet, Vanessa? Fantastic. Okay. So we're not going to rush through this. All right. Do we have the incentives as well? The gift cards? Fantastic. All right. Can we give it up for Vanessa and the team that helped with all of the logistics? I know we have some interns here as well. So if I could get someone maybe just to take notes. I always like to tell the story and set the tone with some questions where you can actually win prizes. Since raffles are illegal, unless you're in Vegas, you have to answer correctly in order to get a $5 Starbucks card, which Vanessa is running to get right now. So I'll start, and if someone could just kind of take notes, thank you, Tiffany, for who gets the right answer. Then you'll get your gift card when the time is over. So it will help as we set the context in before we answer questions. So the first is this. Can anyone tell me, so you have to stand up and give me the right answer, when every American gained their independence? What date? Trina. 1865. I'm going to give it to you. Give her a round of applause. Technically, June 19th, 1865. That's why it's called Juneteenth. That's why we celebrate today. Yeah. That's great. Anybody know, so write her name down. Anybody know when our nation received its independence? I'll take another person. This one is easy. Everyone's always terrified. Go ahead. That is correct, Dr. Grimes. Most of you are going to celebrate July 4th in just a couple of weeks. And so that is a commonly known date. But when I asked the Juneteenth date first, everyone's always like, I don't know. I think I know, but not for sure. But here's why I share that. So what is unique and special about Juneteenth? All right. It is the day where it was not declared, but more realized in terms of freedom for everyone. So if you know this one, I'll give you 2 gift cards. What date did the Emancipation Proclamation drop? One of the greatest documents, at least concerning me in human history. What date did that drop? Close enough. I'll give it to you, even though that is not correct. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you. So the actual date that it came out, it was published, it was declared, was September 22nd, 1864. Oh, I'm sorry, it was 1862. 1862. Yeah, a couple of months. And then it became the law of the land January 1st, 1863. So you got it. All right, we gave you a gift card for that. But I want to drive home a point. On July 4th, we declared our independence. You know the language. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Boom, boom, boom. We're done with King George. Now, what happened on on July 5th, 1776? Yeah, so King George basically said, yeah, not on my watch. Thank you so much for your opinion. You are not free. If you've ever seen Hamilton, he's like, I will do everything in my power. I'll send a whole army to win you back or to keep you, all right, as a colony. Just because you declare that you are free does not mean that you are fully realizing your freedom. Amen? All right. So I have a question for the entire audience. I don't have that many gift cards, but I want you to respond to this. Are you free the day you declare it or the day you feel it? Who believes that it's the day you declare it? Because we celebrate July 4th. Who believes it's the day you feel it? All right. I ask this question every time I do a Juneteenth presentation, and it's always the same. Freedom is freedom when you feel it. So in America, we celebrate three things related to freedom and some other things, and we're going to talk about this on the panel in just a moment. We celebrate the Declaration of Freedom, all right? But we also celebrate the realization of freedom. That's what Juneteenth is. And we celebrate the expansion of freedom. Who celebrates Veterans Day? Yeah, it's the victory, not even here in America, but in other lands, basically the expansion of freedom. All right, so we're going to talk about all of those things, whether it's related to freedom or education or economic opportunities or healthcare. Our panelists come from all of those industries, and so we want to talk about all of that work. But I just realized I probably should share a little bit about the story. So most folks know the history of slavery. All right, the Emancipation Proclamation became law January 1st of 1863, and it wasn't until 2.5 years later, on June 19th, 1865, where the last bastion of people who were enslaved heard the news of their freedom. How long were they free? They'd already been free for 2.5 years. But because they didn't know it, they were not walking in that freedom. They were not realizing that freedom. So that's the story of Juneteenth and why we celebrate Juneteenth. That was in Galveston, Texas. General Gordon Granger, he rides in and says, you are free. You don't have to be a slave any longer. Folks cried and they began to rejoice. And then the next year, they started to commemorate on June 19th, Emancipation Day, Jubilation Day, Freedom Day. They had different terms, and finally, it was there was kind of consensus. It's called Juneteenth because June 19th. And then June 17, 2021, Juneteenth, finally 159 years or so later, became a federal holiday. We said we're going to celebrate freedom for everyone in America on this date moving forward. Let's give a round of applause for that. All right, so we'll go into the panel discussion questions, and I'll ask different folks. I have several questions, and if we have time, we'll allow you to answer or ask some questions as well that I'm sure the panelists will want to respond to. But first, why don't we just start right here with Dr. Marks, and then we'll go this way. Everyone can answer this one. How is Juneteenth significant to you and your family?
Well, I thought I was going to answer this one last, but I'll go ahead and go first. When I think about the significance of Juneteenth, I like to think about or want to ground this response in the spirit of Sankofa, right? And so, what Sankofa essentially means is based on this belief that the human experience is connected to the past, right? Like we have to reach back and understand our history, deeply know it to be able to move forward, right? And so when I think about Juneteenth, I find it to be an opportunity to embrace that and for us to intentionally look back to our past experiences, our ancestors, the obstacles that we've overcome, and our overall resiliency and excellence as a community, right? And so it's important that we have these spaces for intentional reflection because with reflection comes learning, right? And identifying what's next in our present and in our future.
Awesome. I think you're good. This one's still a little low. Fantastic. Mama T.
Okay. Wow. I guess I don't really need a mic. Don't give me a mic at church on purpose. So anyway, I don't need a mic. Juneteenth to me, and I'm from Arkansas, so I'm totally old school. I'm knocking on 70's door. Let me in. Thank you, Lord. I grew up in a rural area in Arkansas. I remember the signs where I couldn't drink from the fountain. I couldn't go to school with the kids that were across the track. So I remember those signs. I remember those days. We didn't call it Juneteenth, we called it Jubilee.
Mm.
Our Jubilee was to come together on that day, and we met at somebody's house. 9 times out of 10, it was at Big Mama's house. Yes, I had a Big Mama, I had a Pop Pop. We met at her house. We made all kinds of food. We came together as a family. The majority of the family was from that little rural town. My dad had 13 on his side, and my mom had 11. So yes, that town was ours. It was ours with all the kids. And back in the day, it wasn't no just one child. That individual, that couple would have 5 to 6 plus kids. So just can imagine all of us coming together at Big Mama's house and sitting and eating. We didn't think about the signs. We didn't think about the negative stuff that we saw when we went across the track. That didn't bother us, y'all. It was about us coming together as a family, talking and loving on each other and sharing the word. That's what it was about, and it was called Jubilee for us. So now with Juneteenth, I'm here to tell you, being a sub, our children don't even know Jubilee, Juneteenth, or anything else. They have no idea. So we need to be about business, not sitting in here and all the other buildings that we sit in on day-to-day basis, talking about Juneteenth. We need to be out sharing it because it's not in the books. They're not learning anything about what happened in the past. They have no idea. So in order for them to do and to hear and to follow what we're hearing and know, some of us know, we got to be out there. We got to be out there. Don't worry about all this other stuff. I'm here to tell you, in order for our children to pick up the legacy, we got to be able to share it. So that means getting out and doing it, right? Walk it. Walk it. Don't just talk it. Walk it.
She just preached. Awesome. Board Member Bowers.
Well, I almost want to say, let the church say amen. You guys went to church and then back. It's offering time now. First and foremost, before I get into, I want to thank, this, to be able to have this type of panel takes bold leadership, and it takes a visionary, but more importantly, it takes a leader who understands the importance of bringing all cultures together. And that can't be captured better than our CEO, Emily Duran. So thank you so much for doing that. Juneteenth has some significance to me. I remember I was working for the federal government at the time. I was working for Congress, and it was kind of a concept. It kept falling, through various administrations. And when someone told me that this was going to become a law, or it'll be a holiday, I said, shut up. There are other legislative priorities to work on, but what it showed me is the resilience, and that's the thing that I like about this room, that it doesn't take just one of us, but it takes all of us. And so often we talk about each other, but we don't talk to each other. And so you have to understand that, Juneteenth is not just Black history, and sometimes we conflate it, but it's American history.
That's right.
It is our history. And so I'm just so honored to have you all in here. But yes, when I was in Congress, during the time I was there, it never happened. But to see that it did happen, it goes to the resilience and the work that it takes for everybody to come together. And keep in mind, when you work on these legislative priorities, it's not just Black people, but it's everybody coming to the table. And so sometimes I say, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And for so long, this bill was on the menu. But it's good to see that we have a holiday in the heat, but we've got a holiday that we get to celebrate. That's my memory.
Awesome. Dr. Bloomberg.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
Happy Juneteenth Day. 160 years of freedom. But thinking about what freedom means, it means what these honored individuals who are up here with me have already said, but it means perseverance. I'm going to give you another word, and that's grit. Grit is that indeterminable force that drives all of us forward. I was adopted when I was 2 months old. I'm from a multiracial background. I was adopted by Caucasian parents. I grew up in a town that was in the Midwest, 98% Caucasian, and I never fit in, and I never understood why. The older that I grew, the more I started to read. And the other thing that's important, ladies and gentlemen, is knowledge. Mamata, you said earlier about making sure that we understand. How many people know about 1921, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Tulsa race riots? That's a story that needs to be told and told again. I was a president in Arkansas of a mostly Black institution. We celebrated Juneteenth, but we also celebrated things like the Little Rock Nine. Prior to Civil Rights Act of 1963, 9 African American students integrated into a high school. The National Guard were called out to protect those 9 students. Yes. So we must never forget. None of us in this room, none of us across this country can ever forget triumph comes at a price. The words separate but equal are usually not true, right? When somebody says separate but equal, they really mean that we want it to look equal, but it's really not. And so I challenge all of us today, as we think about what Juneteenth means to each of us, that we continue to fight the fight, and that it's not just good enough to remember. It's much, much more important to tell the story, right? Because if we don't tell the story, then who does? The history cannot be extinguished among us. We keep the fire lit. We are the ones that motivate the future. And I really appreciate, again, all of you being here today, because it's so important just to have these conversations, to have a chance to talk about things that are important to us as humans, and understand that the future is ours to mold. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for your deep, insightful questions. Because I'm a pastor, I'm sorry, I have to pivot. So I know I sent you some questions already, but just based on what you shared, there were a couple of things that I took from that, and I wanted to ask something slightly different than just how has Jubilee Day or Freedom Day evolved. But really, the lesson that you just spoke to, Dr. Bloomberg, is that Juneteenth it means this. We've come a long way, and we still have a long way to go. Just because we've declared doesn't mean we have always fully realized, and we haven't always fully expanded. And so we have to continue that work, whether it's greater realization of equality, equal rights, opportunity, or the expansion thereof in every sector of society. So I'll start on that side, because you started to dive into this a little bit. In the education space, how have you seen that work of we've come this far and we still have a long way to go progress over the last, well, let's say 20 years?
I think it's a really good question. Being in this industry, I don't think we've progressed enough. And if we were to go out and ask students in third grade or fourth grade or fifth grade what Juneteenth meant to them, it's a rhetorical question, but what do you think the answer would be? Many of them probably wouldn't know, right? And if we asked them about the Emancipation Proclamation and the Civil War and the reasons that the Civil War was undertaken to reunite the Union and to end slavery, I wonder how many of those students know. And we talk about our history. We talk about Rosa Parks and a moment of defiance that really led us on the path to where we are now. That's important for us in education to tell all that story. I mentioned the Tulsa race riot earlier. You know, in the state of Oklahoma that wasn't taught? It wasn't in the curriculum for K-12. So, Pastor Matthews, I will say this. I think it goes beyond just simply ensuring there's knowledge. I think it is a demand that history is told accurately. History is told correctly. And sometimes history isn't pretty. Sometimes history is ugly. But as a people, how do we learn how to move forward if we don't understand where we came from? Ladies and gentlemen, how many times have you heard if we don't understand the past, we're doomed to make the same mistakes, right?
That's right.
So I ask you, as a country, how many times have we doomed ourselves to make the same mistake? And in 2025, Pastor, to your comments at the beginning, again, it's a rhetorical question. I'll end with this. How free are we really? You don't have to answer, but think about that. That's what we should be doing. We should be asking critical questions, and we should be asking, how free are we?
You can clap for that. I'm going to come back to Dr. Marks, because you currently work in education, but I know you also bring a varied background. Anything that you'd like to add?
I have similar sentiments and was prepared to say something very similar. I also come from a biracial family and grew up in very white spaces. And so from an early age, what I learned at school about the history of people who look like me did not match the stories of my family. So when I was at school, we learned about slavery, Emancipation Proclamation, the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment, all in one paragraph, right? But my family had a connection. We were impacted. That side of my family was at some point enslaved in Memphis, Tennessee. It matters. From the time I was in elementary school, I would sit there and learn what I was supposed to learn and try to resonate that with, but that's not what Mama said. That's not what her granddaddy experienced, right? That's difficult as a child to try to make sense of that. And as I got older, I realized, and moving into this scholarly space, I was transcending cultures every day, right? But as an educator, we have to make sure that we are not sharing single, one-dimensional stories of anything.
That's right.
Right? There's a danger in sharing a single story. It doesn't share the whole picture. American history is all of our histories, right? We helped build this country. Our experiences matter. And our students, Black or not, should understand our contributions to this country. At the same time, we deserve our freedom. We deserve equitable experiences. We deserve to learn about our histories in history, in the context of American history.
Yeah.
Right? I'll see. See, you got me off script here, right?
She was ready to preach.
Right. See, but let me also just say, with
It's offering time.
Juneteenth, it also gives us an opportunity to consider, what does it mean to be free? What does it mean to have independence in America? I'll leave it there because, like I said, I'll just keep going.
That's all right. So I want to pivot slightly and let's talk about it as it's related to healthcare. Obviously, that is our industry. That's the work we do every single day. And I know, Mama T, you got a long history. Yes, in Arkansas, but also right here in Kern County, and you as well, Board Member Bowers. What about that progression?
Well, I think that you hear the stories, and when you look at that, we're free in some regards, but when you look at healthcare, there's still some emancipation that needs to take place, especially when you have African American women disproportionately affected. When you can't get help at the hospital, and you are relegated to reduce your pain as if you're med seeking. And so there are some implicit biases that continue to happen in the medical industry. And that's where we all can be advocates to raise our voice. It takes the wisdom to listen, but it takes the courage to lead. And so you all play a pivotal role in doing that each and every day. And, for so many years, and I hear the stories, with my mom grew up in Texas, and my dad from Georgia by way of Allensworth. I'm just kidding. Just had to throw that in there. But they tell the stories, and then they tell what they went through. But look at all of us in this room today. We are sitting next to the chancellor of one of the biggest community college districts here. Why is that important? Because I often say people can't be what they don't see. And they're often expected to play a role that they don't get to see people play. And so him being here, Traco and Emily and everybody in this room, diverse room, people get to watch and see that. But we have an opportunity during Juneteenth to use our voices and not stay in our silos. It's important to understand that we all need each other. And I'll go back to the premise what I said earlier. It's not going to take one of us, but it's going to take all of us.
That's right. Beautiful. You can clap for that, too. Anything to add, Mama T?
Being an OD doula, I did this back in the 80s. And I know we have some new doulas, and they're doing their doula thing. Back in the 80s, when we did it, it was all in kind. I wanted to do it because I did not want a mother to experience the negative that they have to hear from individuals that, I don't know what you're crying for, this doesn't hurt, but to walk in that room and to comfort and to support her when she's going through this. I had an auntie in Arkansas. She was actually a midwife, because back then, we didn't get to go to the doctor. I was born in the home, and so were my 8 brothers and sisters. So I can't even imagine what my mom went through, y'all. I can't imagine back in the day when the mothers didn't have a place to go to but to deliver their babies at home. So when I had an opportunity to come on and become a doula, my heart was there. Yes, we want a beautiful outcome, but I want to be there for that mom. I want to support her and let her know you can get through this. Yes, I'm not going to lie, it's pain. Yes, it is pain. Anybody come in here and tell you that this doesn't hurt, they're a big liar. Period. Period. But to be there to encourage her, to let her know this too is going to pass. The outcome is a beautiful gift, reward that God is giving you, and we can do this. So just being there in that field, I totally enjoy. But it's hard when you have individuals. I was just sharing, I think, with Vanessa, my friend. She's my friend now. Oh, I love her. I know she was so upset with me. It's like, I am not into the modern technology, so don't text me. Don't send me emails if you can't call me or I can't see the whites of your eyes. It's okay. But Vanessa, I love you. But it's just the idea that when individuals walk into a place, number one, I need to know that you care about me because I care about you. I don't care. Even in the supermarket. I'm here. In order for you to keep your job, you need to be nice to me. How can I help you? How many times have we heard that word recently when you walk into some place? No customer service, right? It's none. It's none. It's about getting a job, getting a paycheck, and leaving. That's how it's done at some of the hospitals and some of the doctors' offices, y'all. When these young people or young ladies or mamas, not necessarily young, walk in, there's no respect. Sign your name and sit down. That's it. Wow. No, how are you today? You don't know what I just went through. So when we walk into those spaces with these individuals, these mamas, we're there to support them from day one, all the way through that birth. That's where my passion is, to let them know we value them. We want this baby to grow up to be somebody, know who they are and where they came from. So yes, I'm just old school. I love where I came from. I've learned a lot, and I know I have a lot more to learn. So I know God is not done with me yet, Pastor.
As Mr. Bauer said, let the church say amen. Has this been good so far? This is good. All right, we have about 7 minutes left because I know folks are getting hungry. I'm starting to get some looks, but and I still have 2 more questions. So I'll ask you to keep your answers maybe a little bit shorter these last couple. But the biggest question that I tend to get, just got to be part of the video with the city of Bakersfield, and it was the first one they asked. And it's always this: why should we celebrate Juneteenth? We already have an Independence Day here in America and all of that. What are your thoughts on that? Anybody can take it.
Let me condense it.
Go ahead.
You know, like I said, it should be sparking questions about what does it mean to be free, right? We started there, right? Is it when we proclaim it or when we feel it? What does it mean? What does it mean to have achieved independence? What does it mean to truly have an equitable experience, whether that's access to education, access to healthcare, right? This is the time. Our celebration is rooted in reflection. What has happened in the past? What obstacles have our ancestors overcome to get us here today? And then what is the work that we need to do moving forward? One of my favorite sayings, let me see if I can get it right, just recently with the last election, or the previous election that came up, and it was, Rosa sat. So if you know it, say it with me. Rosa sat so that Ruby could walk, so that Kamala could run, right? In the same way, our ancestors, our enslaved ancestors, fought to eradicate slavery. They fought for citizenship in this country that they helped build, so that our ancestors, our civil rights activist ancestors, could march and demand that we share spaces, that we have the same rights, so that we today can carry that baton forward and demand better, demand true freedom, true independence, true equality in all of the spaces that we exist in.
Awesome. Anyone else? Any brief thoughts to share on that? And say, no, I don't want to go after that.
Because we're standing so close to food, Pastor, I think I can summarize it by saying why we celebrate.
Yes.
Because there's a distinct difference between being independent and being free. That's why we celebrate.
Wow, that'll preach. Yeah, that's good. Awesome. Well, because we are getting close, let's move to the last question that I have for all of you, and we'll start again on that side, Dr. Bloomberg. So in thinking about the next generation, we have some of our externs here. If you're an extern, go ahead and raise your hand. We just want to clap for you. If we see you, honored to have you here. What do you hope they do with the legacy of freedom and resilience and education and healthcare birthed through, I won't say just Juneteenth, the spirit of Juneteenth?
A couple really important things, not just for externs, but for everyone. I want you to think for about 5 seconds what the enemies of freedom are. So I just want you to think about that for 5 seconds. I'm going to tell you what I think the enemies of freedom are. And that is complacency, and that is apathy. Complacency means that we do nothing, and that we maintain the status quo. And that when we maintain the status quo, we're slowly and inexorably slipping backwards, right? We're not moving forward. Worse than complacency is apathy. Apathy is a learned behavior, and apathy means that we simply don't care. And as a people, we can never get to a place where we don't care. And so, regardless of your age, defend freedom against apathy and defend freedom against complacency. And never forget one of my favorite, in addition to Dr. King, one of my favorite civil rights leaders of all time, Representative John Lewis from Tennessee. Representative Lewis said this, paraphrasing, "It's always the right time to engage in good and necessary trouble," right? And so we should always engage in good and necessary trouble, because that's what defeats apathy. And Pastor, that's what defeats complacency.
Awesome. We'll just come this way.
That was a super amen there. I told you he's good, isn't he? And he got the voice to match it too. The reason why we keep talking about, you hear Black history, you hear Juneteenth, the significance and the importance is that when people go through trauma, there's always some post-traumatic stress that comes from that. And I don't think that we have got a chance to really look at the mental health impact that it has had across our community and all communities. Look at the Holocaust. They still talk about some of the stress that is, and some of the PTSD that has come from that. Especially when you have young boys who have seen their brothers and sisters killed senseless in the street or even at the hands of law enforcement. There's a little bit of stress that comes with that. But I think what's important for our interns and our young people to understand is that, as we always say, if you see something, say something. That you are not only the agent of change, but you are the voice. If you see a void somewhere, don't come run to Traco or Emily or everybody else. But I think what's important for you all to understand and remember is that you are the person that you've been waiting for. If there is a void in something, if there's a need, you step up and remember that you are the person that you've been waiting for.
All right. Mama T.
Well, I'm going to end mine's is why not? Why not celebrate? It's not about just blacks. We are the people. All of us have a heart. We're still living. We are about to do the work. It's about us getting out and doing the work. Don't worry about the race, because when our children hear us talking and we're bashing this one and we're bashing that one, what do you think they're going to do? When I go on these high school campuses, our people are fighting over nonsense, y'all. You can ask them, well, why were you fighting? Well, I don't know. She said this and she said that. No, I'm here to tell you, it's about us going out and doing the work. Why not everybody come together, no matter what your race is, and celebrate Jubilee, Juneteenth, whatever the case is, whatever you want to call it, coming together as one. We're all on this little earth together. We're not going to take anything with us when we leave. I don't care what you put in your coffin, it's not going to be there. Okay, so come together as one and serve each other. In order for us to come together and to be able to live together, we used to live together. Yeah. We used to. We can't live together now. I can't live next door to you. Yeah. No. So come together. Seriously, come together. That's all I have to say. Why not?
I think Lauryn Hill had a song that said, "How you gonna win when you ain't right within?"
We're going to move on before they start jostling with each other now. Dr. Marks, you are the final word.
Okay, so I'm actually gonna really try and keep this one short. I think that sometimes change is hard to see in the moment, right? Sometimes we have to take a step back and gain some perspective, right? Change is often slow. For all of us in this room, I'm guessing on our age range, right? But we're somewhere in, I'm just gonna say the middle, right? We move towards living and serving others. Our job at this stage of our life, and I'm not going to name the number, but we're in the middle, let's put it that way, is to start pouring into those behind us who are coming up behind us. It is sharing the word that we have talked about here today. It is sharing our personal experiences. It is demanding that education be a priority because it is one of the most powerful tools that we can give our students. We have to pour in to our community, to our children, to make a difference. It is passing that baton so that they can see change between today and their tomorrow.
Pastor Trago, I know we're ready to eat.
Yeah.
Will y'all repeat after me, black don't crack?
It sure don't.
Doesn't she look good for 26 years old? Look at this.
Oh my goodness, this almost did become black church. Was this good? If you think so, please join me in giving a rousing round of applause for all of our distinguished panelists, Dr. Marks, Mama T, Mr. Bowers, and Dr. Bloomberg. Thank you so much. This was absolutely fantastic. I wish we had more time. Come back next year.